So I will give you a resemblance. Except for the Greek mythology, almost all the mythologies have some or the other resemblance to the Hindu mythology. Humans have traveled to Brahmalok. Brahmalok can be
Patal
considered as a different universe or a different system entirely, because none of the planets that we have in the solar system can ever achieve that kind of speed that Brahma.
Yes, yes.
Thor doesn't only have Mjolnir. He has a special gloves. He has special anklets. He has many special weapons attached, except for the Mjolnir. Like if he doesn't have Mjolnir, he's still a lot stronger than they have shown in the movie. Okay.
Welcome back, friends, to yet another episode of Confidence Point. And today we have with us Mohit Tripathi. And in this episode, we are going to talk about mythology. Hi, Mohit. Welcome to Confidence Point.
Hey, Nakul. It's a wonderful experience to be here.
So, Mohit, please tell us something about yourself. Like, what do you do?
I'm basically an engineering student with a crazy obsession over mythologies. And why I say that's a crazy obsession? Because after class 10th, it hit me really hard, and I started reading about them. And first, I was really fascinated about Hindu mythology. The reason being, I've lived with my grandparents, and in every house, grandparents had in our childhood, grandparents had an habit to take us and see Mahabharata, Ramayana, and all.
Yes.
So my fascination came from there. It was since then, and that continued. And I was like, okay, I know a bit of Hindu mythology, but do other countries also have their own mythologies? So then I learned about the old religions, the new religions. Then I learned about that Hinduism. Do you know actually Hinduism is one of the rarest old religions that actually survived. Many old religions have actually died.
Exactly.
Most of the religions we see nowadays are actually new religions. I won't name them, but many of them are new religions. So there I came like, what is the story? There, if there is a mythology, if there is a religion, it should have a mythology.
Yes.
Mythology is basically history of a particular region or a religion. So from that, I was like, okay, let's go a bit into the mythologies of other countries. So the first mythology that I learned about, that was not Indian and not Hindu, that was Norse mythology.
Okay.
Actually, that was pretty famous due to Marvel. Marvel sort of manipulated it for its own purposes.
Okay.
But that was one of the first mythologies that I actually read about.
Okay, so the thing that you mentioned, this thing that actually Hindu religion is one of the ancient and rarest religions. So you asked me like, do you know? So I heard it in one of the episodes by Amish Tripathi. He also mentioned this thing. So from there, I came to know about these things. And after that, there are some fiction books. I never read fiction books. But when I saw his interview, so after that, I read his Ram trilogy. And currently, I'm continuing with the Shiva trilogy.
No, see, even in those books, the energies, superiorities are not exactly shown. See, there is every generation, there comes a generation gap.
Yes.
Our generation specifically uses it for its own use, but that's not the right way to use it. Generation gap can be seen is like the ancient, we can see into our mythologies, right? The resilience, the patience they had, the confidence they had, we don't even have 1% of it.
Exactly.
It might hit some people really hard, but that is sort of a reality.
Yes, yes.
See, if you ask a person that your father gave a promise, so you need to go and spend 16 years in a forest. The guy will simply say you, I don't care, my dad gave that promise, I'm not responsible for it. Now we have Sri Ram for that example. Okay, he went to the forest, he was there for so many years. He never uttered one word against his parents, against
14
anyone.
Years, right? It was 14 years, right?
Yeah, it was 14 years, 14 saal ka vanvas.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
No, why I counted it 16? Because I was trying to cover the Love Kush part 2.
Okay.
What the point is that resilience is with no one, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
See, leaving the only person for whom you fought a whole war is a tough decision.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
We
It's a
had a
tough
discussion
decision.
about that, if you remember a few weeks back.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Mohit, like I would like to start with, can you simply explain for our audience in very simple words that what is the word meaning of the word mythology?
Okay, so mythology basically would mean any story that you have ever heard from your childhood
Mm-hmm.
that has a slim chance of being true.
Okay,
Okay, that can take you towards spirituality
okay.
or has some lesson in it. See,
Hmm.
every mythological stories that we see has some or the other story in it,
Hmm.
and that story has a lesson that is important for our life. A few days back, there was a research conducted by NASA because their facts are more prevalent than our local. We Indians, I don't know why, tend to believe people research of Western countries.
Yeah.
So their research was that the time that is consumed right now has actually slowed down.
Hmm.
Okay, so if we take that into consideration, then the 4 yugas that we count, it is actually a really really long time.
Yes.
And scientists have said that this slowing of time has actually occurred in past 1,000 or 2,000 years,
Hmm.
and there is 20 around 28 billion years that crossed.
Exactly. And the
So
same,
those stories happened, but the speed they happened at and the speed we are living in is completely different.
exactly.
Their 1 year was much faster. It's like comparing Mars to Earth.
Hmm. And so the facts that I read or I came across were there were a few of the things, or we can say proofs, that were found at the places that existed in the past during that time. So there are proofs that those things really happened. And
Yeah.
in those books, Ramayana and Mahabharata, for example, when Lord Ram was born, at that time, in Ramayana, the exact sky is described, that what was the position of particular stars and the sky. It is described in very detail. So if we have tools today or softwares today, then many of the historians say that if we match those patterns, then we can exactly find that at what period, how many years ago this thing happened, because you cannot falsely predict the position of stars. You have to observe the sky and then you note them down, that these were the positions of particular stars on that particular day. So if we study that properly, then we can actually find out that before how many years Lord Ram was born on earth.
See, India, one of the biggest losses of India was losing Nalanda.
Yeah,
It was
definitely.
not losing our gold, it was not losing Kohinoor, it was losing Nalanda.
Hmm.
Okay. It burned like, I don't know, even the teachers, the students, the books, everyone was burned down.
Exactly.
So that was one thing where India had its biggest loss. Because, see, knowledge is something that needs to be preserved.
Definitely.
But we won't go into that. Let's get back to mythology. Because if we go there, we will go back to why India, how India faced suffered losses
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
what India's current movement is. So let's get back to mythology.
So would you like to throw some light, or would you like to elaborate, like how you got interested into mythology? Like in the beginning, you said that from your grandparents you used to watch these serials, but apart from that, any particular point after which you started reading these mythologies?
Yeah, actually, there is a monumental thing. What happened was students in my class, there I studied in a Delhi public school.
Mm-hmm.
So we used to have scholastic fair in our school.
Okay.
So scholastic fair came and I won a prize. Won a prize from my school and I got a book.
Hmm.
And that book had some references of Norse mythology. So that
Okay.
sparked it.
Hmm. Got it. Got it. So this is the one of the best things that teachers or the people do. Like my father is also a teacher, so whenever some student comes to him and shows him the result that they got good marks, so what is the best gift that you can get from a teacher? It's always a book. So he gives the students the book of Swami Vivekanand, or some books related to Bhagavad Gita and all these, and once the students start reading it, they start getting interest into those things, and they ask my father that which are the books that they can continue after that, because they get interested in that. So it reminded me of that thing when you mentioned it.
That's a great gift, because gifting someone knowledge is something that you can do.
uh,
Yeah, because that will make them productive. So there was a time, I'm not kidding, there was a time when I used to read a book a week. That was the kind of reading I was doing. But then after, due to my studies, I decided that this much time for studying is no more required. I need to study more of my course books rather than help books, or the genres differed, right?
Yes.
So that is what happened. But I also read Greek mythology,
Mhm.
and that made me realize that Greek mythology and Roman mythologies are two different things.
Okay.
Yeah. So usually when you say Greek mythology, the first thing that comes into your mind is Zeus,
Yes.
right? But he's not from Greek mythology.
Okay.
He's from the Roman mythology.
Both are different.
Yeah, both are completely different.
Even I didn't know that.
See, yeah. See, one, Ra is the main god. Ra is the god of sun, is the
Okay.
main god, and all the other gods are his descendants or related to him
Okay.
or below him. Ra protects the earth from outer space and creatures that attack earth from outer space. So there was a theory that this was the story because aliens invaded earth and Greeks protected them. A Greek king protected him, protected earth, so they created a story based on him. It's a theory, but because it's a mythology, so there are not many proofs in order to prove it. And also, it's a really, really old religion, so not many books of it is also available. See, I just talked about the loss of knowledge, right?
Yes.
So there we have another loss of knowledge.
So the thing, like, how I came to know about Greeks was when I read the story that Alexander, invaded India and Chandragupta Maurya protected it. So that's when I came to know, okay, and that's when I got interested to read about Greek kings or people from Greece and like that.
So the story of Alexander being repelled from by Mauryas was actually quite fascinating. Have you read about it? Yeah.
Yes.
So that is something, that is another loss. Because why I would say that, because the weapons used that time, if they were improvised and used it in the modern times, it would have been a tremendous use. Because just one person, just Chandragupta Maurya and his teacher Chanakya, they beat down a whole empire.
Yes.
And how that was done? It was done using spies.
Yes.
So the other countries might think that we have the most superior spies, but we had spies when you didn't even know about spies.
Yes. And I'm also a great fan of Chanakya as well. So I've read books about it. Last year I read his book Chanakya Niti.
Yeah, even I have read that. I have that book, in fact. I have the Hindi version of it. I read it.
And currently, the book which I'm reading currently, the autobiography of a yogi, it also has a mention about an incident when Alexander invaded India. So he approached some sadhu and told him or sent him a message to come to him, but that sadhu denied and told that, and that's the entire story. But then eventually Alexander went to him and he asked some questions, and it is written in that book that Alexander was quite fascinated by Indian gods and the way we people used to think in those days.
So I will give you a resemblance. Except for the Greek mythology, almost all the mythologies have some or the other resemblance to the Hindu mythology.
Okay.
That is fun stuff, because Greek mythology is more of a descendant kind of thing. One family or somewhat or the other, the people were related.
Okay.
The gods were how or the other related. Most of the gods were related or were subjects.
Okay.
Subjects of the main god. So, but Hindu mythology is not anything like that. Hindu mythology is damn huge. I will say that it's huge because it encompasses around 6 complete universes. Okay, if we read, if someone has already actually read the books, they will know that it encompasses galaxies, universes. And how would people of a low civilization, a level 1 civilization, know that there is an existence of 6 or 7 galaxies? Not only existence, but they could also travel into them.
Hmm.
See, existence is not a big deal. Even while we are in Earth, we still know about a lot of galaxies,
Yes.
like Andromeda galaxy, that's just above our galaxy, right? So we know about a lot of them, but traveling to them was a big deal. Humans have traveled to Brahmalok. Brahmalok
Patal
can be
Lok.
considered as a different universe or a different system entirely, because none of the planets that we have in the solar system can ever achieve that kind of speed that Brahmalok has, right?
Yeah, and
So
exactly
that is one thing.
the things that have been mentioned, like Pushpak Viman. So the technology at
Yeah.
that time.
See, in fact, before Ravan was interrupted by her sister, he was going to build a bridge from the human realm to the God's realm. Why I'm using realm instead of Swarg or Dharti, because that gives a, because other mythologies give a vibe of realm.
Yes.
Like when you go to the Norse mythology, they have a lot of realms.
Yes.
Okay, and there is one tree, the world tree Yagdarshan, and you travel through that one tree.
And even
So, you know why
in,
Odin is considered as the strongest one? He's not actually, he's not only the strongest one, he's also the most knowledgeable. And that's just because of one thing, because he has the knowledge of runes. Okay, he has the knowledge of symbols, and the Thor's hammer, the Mjolnir, and most of the weapons that were created.
yes,
Thor doesn't only have Mjolnir; he has a special gloves, he has special anklets, he has many special weapons attached, except for the Mjolnir. Like if he doesn't have Mjolnir, he's still a lot stronger than they have shown in the movie. Okay, so those were actually made by Odin's brother.
okay.
Odin are actually three brothers.
Hmm.
So most of the people think that there are no threes in Norse mythology, but no, that's not true. There are three in that too.
So all these things you
There,
won't see
see,
in movies, but if you read it, then only you will come to know. Like Mohit has read
yeah, you
them.
only know about stuff when you go into it.
Yes.
Odin actually punished himself. He hanged upside down from Yagdarshan in order to gain that knowledge. So he's respected a lot. He's respected a lot for that.
Okay. So I'm curious to know, you read all these mythologies, then what do you learn from them? Like you read them for your own interest, but the person that you are and the time that I know you, so I can tell that you are the person who learned from all the things that you read. So from all these wide range of mythologies that you have read, can you tell us like what did you gain or what did you learn?
See, one thing that I learned is, first thing, you need to stop thinking too much and working more,
Yes.
because there is already a plan. And as you work hard, that plan actually changes according to you. You can't just sit down, yeah, okay, there is a plan. I won't need to do anything. The plan will work itself. That doesn't happen.
Exactly.
You need to work. And the better you work, the better the results you get according to the plan. Every time you take a decision, a new parallel universe is created.
Yeah. What
According
about
to
that
that
theory?
one decision. So that also brings my mind that what if multiverse exists? Right? That brings us to that point. See, science and mythology are actually interconnected.
Yeah.
Till we, as long as we see them as two different paths, there might be some clashes, but there is a lot of similarity in them. If we go back to, see, going back to our roots is something. It's said that whenever something reaches its pinnacle, it goes back to its roots, its simplest form.
Yes.
Right. So mythology is actually the simplest form of science. Like we have the Vedas, Rig Ved, Samved, Yajurved, and Atharvaved.
Yes.
It is said that all the knowledge in the world is actually encompassed in these 4 books.
Yes.
So I gained one thing from this, was that perspective is really important. See, there we have a lot of Upanishads.
Yes.
Right. we have a lot of books that stemmed down from the four main books, the four
Hmm.
Vedas, right? So that was all that knowledge, that hundreds of books that came out from Vedas were actually 100 different perspective of different people
Exactly.
that they gained from the Vedas. So perspective is really important. So what
Hmm.
I do is, if I'm in a condition, if I have a, if I'm having a fight with someone, or someone is scolding me, so I won't immediately react to it. Instead, I will
Hmm.
take a step back and try to look at the whole situation as a third person view. That will let me see that what is right and what is wrong according to both the sides.
Hmm.
So what I believe is, if everyone reads mythology, it doesn't matter which religion you belong to. You just need to read your own religion's mythology,
Hmm.
because the old people were damn intelligent, 100 times intelligence than you right now are.
Yes.
So if you read that, you will gain something that will make you more productive.
Hmm.
Until and unless you don't have negative thoughts in your mind and don't have a destructive mindset,
Hmm.
that book will help you grow.
Exactly. And the thing that you mentioned, what I believe is about mythology and science, I also feel the same, that they both reinforce each other. And about the learnings, once I started reading some mythologies or I came across it, the thing that I learned is absolutely, exactly the same thing which you told, that your truth is not the only truth. There are multiple truths. Something is true according to you, that might not be true according to me, but everyone has their own version of truth, and you need to be open minded enough to accept it. And the main thing which I learned was to be more open minded, to widen my gaze, because if you are not open minded enough to believe what it is written in those books, then there is no point reading that.
Yeah, that's completely true. I will agree to that. In fact, see, there is a really wrong mindset that mythology books conservate our mindsets. That's not true. You will never find a book more open-minded than mythologies.
Exactly.
The Don't go by the stories you see. Go and read the books. I
Hmm.
always say, don't go for the movies. Don't go for the serials. Go read the book,
And actually, when you have
because
read the book,
Ramayana in the TV itself, they have shown four different perspectives of
hmm,
it, right? So you need to read it in order to learn it. The same is with Mahabharata, the same is with Bhagavad Gita, Shiv Puran, Vishnu Puran, then Greek mythology, Norse mythology, Chinese mythology, in fact. That is pretty huge. So everything, everyone can learn from everything,
hmm.
but don't focus on everything.
So my next question would be like, before some time you mentioned about aliens and all these things. So I was eventually going to come to that point only, that the mythologies that you have read, what is written about aliens or multiple universes or like that theory? So what is the thing that you have read from all these books?
See, it is quite fascinating that almost most of the mythologies actually talk about multiverse.
Okay.
See, Norse mythology says that Yagdarshan is the tree and all the realms are connected to it.
Hmm.
So it sort of says that Yagdarshan is one tree and there are many universes that are linked to that one, the one main tree. So that is one thing. Then if we come back to India, let's
Hmm.
get to Hindu mythology. It is said that there are many universes and many Brahmas rule them.
Yes.
Okay, it is a statement, and many Vishnus rule them. So that would mean that there is actually existence of multiverse. Then see, there is this why the confusion comes. I will give you an example. We have heard that there are 33
Ha.
koti
Ha.
Devi Devta in Hindu mythology, right?
Ha. Ha.
So
Ha.
during conversion, when it was converted from Sanskrit to Hindi, the
Exactly.
koti was converted into crore.
Parod, ha. But it's not
Okay?
that.
Koti doesn't mean crore; it means main.
Yes.
So that actually meant that there are 13 main gods, and the rest are subsidiary. Okay, so that's where the change of knowledge came, right? We lost the own original Sanskrit knowledge and
Hmm.
we tried to modify it in order to satisfy our requirements.
The same is the case with the word darshan. Do you know in Sanskrit the word darshan, and if you translate it into English, it means philosophy. The proper meaning or translation of the word darshan is philosophy. So when we have temples, and in ancient times it is written that people used to go there and discuss about philosophy of life and things like that. But once it was translated, darshan मतलब उसका कुछ अलग ही मीनिंग ट्रांसलेट हो गया. But actually, it meant कि आप एक प्लेस पे you gather at one place and then you discuss philosophy or some important questions about life. So darshan means that.
Right now, darshan means having a look at God, praising Him. So it was converted to, it was converted basically to bring people to temples, because what happened was people were too busy to get to temples. And until and unless people are accumulated, different opinions won't come together, right?
Yes.
So in order to bring the opinions together, they converted the word so that at least people come together. Because when there is a crowd, there is a talk. And when there is a talk, there is a discussion.
Yes.
When there is a discussion, there is a result. So it was for that.
And you mentioned about multiverses or multiple universes. Anything about aliens that you have read?
Not exactly aliens, because no one would actually talk about aliens, right? But there are references of Naglok, right? So have you ever seen a person with half snake, half human body, right? We have never done that. We have never seen it. So where is that possible? That is possible in a different dimension, where the laws of nature are completely different than the laws of nature on earth. Right? So that will show that yes, there was a race of aliens.
And one thing, like I would like to mention here was, once I was discussing with my friends, and the Thor Ragnarok came actually.
Yeah.
So a few days before that, me and my friend somewhere we were watching, I don't remember the name of the serial. It was on television, and in that the same thing was happening, that people were traveling from, how it happens in our serials in Hindu culture, कि मतलब यहाँ से पृथ्वी लोक से they were going to Brahma Lok to, कि they had some complaints, so to discuss it to the Brahmadev. So they were traveling in the serial, they were showing that. And my friend told, how can a person go from Prithvi to Brahma Lok? मतलब serial वाले कुछ भी दिखाते हैं. And उसी के 10-15 दिन बाद we went to watch Thor Ragnarok, and in that also same thing was happening. Thor was traveling from the earth to his planet. I forgot the name of his planet.
Asgard.
Asgard. So he was traveling to Asgard. So at that time I asked him, don't you think that how can a person go from earth to Asgard? And he was like, of course he can go, why can't he? Then I asked him the same question, why didn't believe it at the time of serial? And he didn't have any explanation.
See, there is a theory that Brahmadev actually resides in a dimension that we cannot perceive. Everywhere around us, because it's said that Brahmadev can see everything. He has 4 heads which sees everything. It encompasses even the movement of a small needle or a dust particle. He can even see that. So it is said that for that reason he resides in a different dimension. So that is also said. So if that is true, what level of science was it? Just imagine the level of science that was needed for dimensional traveling. Intergalactic travel is all right. You just need more energy. Earth needs more energy in order to go into outer space, right? But for going to a complete different dimension, it's a complete different thing. It's a complete different game entirely.
Yes,
right.
But the point that I wanted to make to him was be open-minded to accept things.
Yeah, exactly. You need, see, if you can accept their half mythologies, you need to be ready to accept your complete mythology.
Exactly.
They aren't showing everything, right? Like in the Thor's first movie, they showed that as soon as Odin took the hammer from Thor, he also took his powers. Okay, but Thor himself is strong enough to survive without his hammer. Okay, and that is not the only weapon Thor has. His hammer is not the only weapon he has. He when it is said that when Ragnarok comes, Ragnarok means the end of gods.
Hmm.
When the end of gods comes, Thor will fight the biggest snake, and both will die.
Hmm. There's a written
The
mythology, right?
I read it a lot of long time back, so I don't remember the name of the snake. But
Okay.
it is said that when the snake's head will meet its tail, Ragnarok will come, and in
Hmm.
Ragnarok, Thor will fight the snake and kill it. But at the same time, he will die due to his injuries.
Hmm.
That is why it said the end of gods, right? Also, the snake is actually son of Loki. It's Loki's son.
Hmm.
Do you know why Loki is considered as the most notorious gods?
No idea. Though I watched the
Because
series recently.
yeah, no. The Loki of Marvel verse is not at all related to the original one.
Ah.
Trust me. It's like two different Lokis. He is considered as the most notorious one because he killed his brother. Not by
Okay.
his own hands, but by the hands of someone else.
Hmm.
See, Baladur was blessed by gods to be to have the most indestructible body. Okay, but even he was said that only if he was attacked by the mistletoe, he will be killed.
Hmm.
And Loki used that to get him killed. So because he killed an immortal god, he is called the most notorious, the trickster
Hmm.
god.
Okay. And we talked about aliens, multiple universes. One more thing which I would love to know is, does any mythologies talk about time travel as well?
Hindu mythology talks about time travel itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, have you heard about the story of Balram's wedding? That is one of the major examples of time travel.
Yeah, I have heard about it, but please describe it for our audience as well.
Okay, so what happened? There was a king, and he had a daughter who was really talented, and it was the Satyug period when he came, when it was his rule. He had a really big kingdom, and because in Satyug it is said that everyone had mystical powers, especially the Brahmins and the Kshatriyas.
Okay.
Okay, it is said that they had mystical powers because they did yogasanas. They did
Hmm.
yoga, they had meditations, they performed certain sculptures, they read through it, they gained knowledge, and that knowledge entitled them to gain some mystical powers.
Mm-hmm.
So our king was really strong and he had a lot of mystical powers. So what he did is he took his daughter and he went to Brahmalok. Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
before going to Brahmalok, he made a list of eligible bachelors
Hmm.
because his main motto was to get his daughter married.
Hmm.
So when they reached Brahmalok and gave that list to Brahmadev, Brahmadev is like, dude, by the time you came here, all of these are already gone. A lot of yugs have already crossed by. So I'm giving you a solution. Go back to Earth, and by the time you reach there, Krishna and Balram would have taken birth,
Okay.
and Balram would be the perfect groom for your daughter, and
Hmm.
that is how they were married. So
Okay.
that to see the Krishna Bhagwan and Balram actually came in Dwapar Yuga,
Yes.
okay? And our king is from Satyug. Okay, so he time traveled, right? He
Hmm.
jumped times because he was in Brahmalok. Him traveling for one day was equivalent to a few yugs, a few
Hmm.
yugas. So that is one of the reference given in our history of time travel.
Hmm.
There is not it's not exactly said that people could go back in time and come back, but there has been reference that when the world stops spinning, the Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh will come as one, and the world will be created again. That
Hmm.
was something that was done to change the rules.
Hmm.
Humanity has some rules, right? It is said that Rishi Manu decided a few rules for
Yes.
all humanity,
Hmm.
and when he was in sadhana, he divided his own parts into many parts, and he is residing in every human. That is why it is said that we should read it.
Hmm.
That is why it is said that we should follow it.
And that's also one of the reasons why I decided to do this episode, because the more these days I'm seeing, because COVID happened and people were locked in their houses during the lockdown, many of my friends, and I also saw this on social media, that many of the students or people started reading Ramayana, Mahabharata. Many of the people started reading Bhagavad Gita. So that's why I decided to do an episode and tell people like what are the things, why should they read mythology and all these things. So that was the main reason why I decided to do this episode, because I'm seeing that people are diverting towards this thing, and that's actually a good thing.
Like I said, everyone should read their own mythologies.
Yeah.
I'm not asking you to read any particular religion's mythology. Read your own. But when you read, have a clear heart, have an open mind, and then read it. You read it to gain knowledge, not to target a few lines or no, these lines can help me prove this point. Don't read a book for that.
Exactly.
Read it with a completely open mind to gain what is actually written by the intellectuals that made you. Due to whom you are right now there. You are sitting there due to them, your ancestors. Read about them, know them.
Right? Can you also recommend few mythologies apart from the common things or common books that people read, which are really interesting?
I won't actually suggest a few mythologies because that will bring in my own biases.
Okay.
I will recommend you that you should read them. Irrespective of what religion you belong to, irrespective of what caste you are, reading mythologies will bring a positive, a proper change in your personality. Parents can stop you from surfing your net using your mobile phones, but they will never stop you if you tell them that I am reading so and so religious book. They will never stop you. This is something that's a truth.
Yes.
So we should think about that. Okay, so let me give it a try. I won't force you to read it. No, go and read. I won't say you like that. Go give it a try. Give it a run. And I promise you, you will start liking it.
Definitely, that's
once
the
you
most
start
important.
understanding it. Once you start understanding it, it's a big universe.
Yes. The thing is, many people have seen that they are not ready to give it a try.
Starting is important.
Yes.
That see, one spark lights up the forest. Go open it. I'm saying this for Bhagavad Gita. Keep the Bhagavad Gita in front of you. Think about your problem and open a random page. Read it once, read it twice, read it thrice. You will have the solution of your problem.
Yes.
This is something I have used, and that is why I'm recommending it.
Yeah,
Go ahead, do that.
I still feel that reading Bhagavad Gita was the best thing that I did in lockdown.
Yeah, these books actually bring a lot of peace in your life too.
Perspectives plus
a lot
peace.
Of peace. Yeah.
Definitely.
Because see, mental issues come into your life when your mind is not calm. Keeping your mind healthy is also important.
Definitely.
So I started reading mythologies because I had a few hard times, and mythology sort of helped me cope up with it. See, mythologies sort of it took me away from my problem. At the same time, it gave me solution to my problem. So by the time I realized that I was actually into mythology, my problem was actually solved.
Yes,
I was back at track. I actually got off track from my career, and that was a really bad situation for anyone. Getting off track is really a hard situation to get back on. So at that time, I started studying mythologies. I read Norse mythology about Loki, Thor, Odin, how he studied. Then what's Yagdarshan, what every realm has. Then I read about Greek mythology, Norse mythology. I read how the world was created according to other mythologies. Hindu mythology, it was created by the gods. And in a flash, in Christian mythology, it was a spark that created everything. It was the God's words that created everything. Let there be light. And the universe was created. But every mythology has a different view of it,
Hmm.
right? So that sort of, while I was reading it, they were not related to my problem, but it sort of helped me to
Hmm.
gain a new perspective towards my problem.
Hmm.
Now I started looking at my problem as not my problem, but a problem of someone else. And we have a habit that we have the solution to every problem until and unless it's not ours.
Yes.
We don't have the solution of our problem, but we have the solution to every problem on earth,
Hmm.
right?
Yes.
We will sit with a cup of tea and think what a cricketer should do or a prime minister should do.
Yes.
That's a common in every country. It's not only about India. It's something that's common in every country in the world.
Hmm.
It's a human nature.
Yes.
So I would recommend go read.
Hmm.
Don't watch. Because as soon as I say read, people will go to YouTube and search for Bhagavad Gita full audio, and they will sit down and hear it all. But they
Hmm.
won't spend the equal amount of time to read it. In fact, it will take you less amount of time instead of watching a YouTube video.
And the thing that I love about reading is, by taking my pen, I can add notes there or I can mark the things. That's what I love about reading books.
Yeah, that is a habit that you get when you read mythologies.
Hmm.
Because gaining knowledge from every sentence is a different feeling. And once you get the habit of that feeling, you get addicted to it. So I won't ask you to get addicted, but read it.
Yes.
Reading is a good habit.
So, with that note, we will conclude this episode. It was a very interesting episode for me. At least for me, I found it very interesting and I enjoyed it thoroughly. And this is just the beginning. We'll come with more episodes in the future. But this was just to introduce you to Mohit and to mythology. These kind of talks we keep doing offline as well. So I thought let's do it online as well and put it in front of you guys as well. So Mohit, it was a pleasure having you.
Thank you, Nakul, for inviting me to it.
And
It was. I had a great time. I had a great time.
And please tell our viewers to subscribe as well.
Yeah, please like, subscribe, and share Nakul's accounts. Nakul is a really great guy. I will really recommend following him because I've talked to him personally. I know him personally, and I can assure you, you will get positive stuff from him. You will get knowledge. Your time, your investments won't go to waste.
Thank you for the kind words.